several aftershocks. 5.2, the biggest one here, and then I'm looking at the current map. It looks like one of the more recent smaller aftershocks was a 2.5. That's 4 kilometers south of Julian, and one of the bigger ones was epicentered about 7 kilometers east-southeast of Borrego Springs. But there have been several, of course, wouldn't be surprised as this continues here throughout the day. We are also updating all of our information because, again, a lot of information is coming in as some folks begin to check out their businesses, assess if they have any damage. We are updating all of that on our website, 10news.com. This earthquake, again, struck a little after 10 o'clock. And thank you to all of our viewers for sending information in and sending in some of your videos as well. This is a live look here at Julian. A lot of people outside right now. And again, it's been about almost an hour. We're seeing one of the fire apparatus there going through downtown. That's CAL FIRE. We just got off the phone with CAL FIRE, Mike Cornett, who explained basically what they do after an earthquake happens. After an earthquake this large happens, again, they go ahead and go through their checklist just to make sure all of their crews and their equipment are safe. And then again, if you have an emergency, of course, don't hesitate to call 911, but of course they are aware of the earthquake, and they will be assessing the nearby neighborhoods and whatnot just to make sure everything is okay. Someone sent me an email as well saying that some of their animals have also reacted to the earthquake, and that is typical. Of course, I had to check on my dog to make sure my dog was okay, and thanks to my mother-in-law who is also watching the house, dog and family are okay at our home. And this is here from up in Escondido. Fortunately, no one was home at this hour, but we're seeing the shaking and we're definitely hearing it as well. Minor damage reported in some businesses. We are getting that information here. This is in Escondido, but I am getting some folks out of county who are checking in. And checking in if we are, I am fine, guys, so don't worry about that. But thank you for checking in. But again, this was felt all the way up in Orange County, up in LA, and even through Temecula as well. I'm checking in on my email here, and it looks like, yeah, we're getting more people who have said they felt it even throughout out of county. And I'm glad that the folks emailing me are safe. Again, a 5.2 earthquake felt across the county, epicentered near Julian. You see the aftershocks there, anywhere between a 2.5 to a 3.5, one of the bigger ones here, a 3.5. Centered about 7 kilometers outside of Borrego Springs. As we hit close to 11 o'clock, we are going to continue our coverage of the large earthquake felt here in San Diego County. We'll be bringing you all angles and also have more live coverage from our 10 News team. We are going to reset here and bring you more news at the top of the hour.
ABC 10 News starts now with breaking news.
And thank you so much for staying with me. I'm Melissa Masiha, bringing you live coverage here of the earthquake that struck just within the past hour in San Diego County. It was a magnitude 5.2, and we are getting a lot of information, a lot of video coming in right now. We do want to go to our Marie Coronel, who is joining us here with some information that she is monitoring online. Marie.
Yes, Mel, we've been monitoring social media, as that is how many of the agencies are getting the word out. Here, Governor Newsom's press page saying that Governor Newsom has been briefed about the earthquake here in San Diego County. It's also saying that the state is coordinating with local authorities to assess any damage and if emergency response is needed. We've also been keeping a close eye on SDG&E's outage map website to see what the impacts could be from this earthquake. Here on the outage map, we are seeing there is an outage in Julian in the Santa Isabel area. There are about 490 customers who are out of power. This started just after 10 o'clock, which is also after the earthquake. It is saying that the cause of the outage is still unknown, but they are estimating that the services will be restored by 1:30 this afternoon. When you do look on social media, a lot of people are saying that this was the largest earthquake they have felt since living here in San Diego. We've also been keeping an eye on the different school districts, the different agencies. A lot of the law enforcement agencies are saying, and they're asking people to keep the emergency lines clear so that if someone does have a true emergency, they can get through. If it is a non-emergency issue, they are asking that people call the non-emergency line. We, of course, will continue to monitor what we're seeing on social media. We also have crews that are out there trying to gather the information for themselves out there in the neighborhoods. And as soon as we get that information from them, we will definitely bring it to you, Mel.
All right, Marie, thank you so much. Right now, you are taking a look at some video sent to us by Dylan. This is Mountain Spirit Liquor. This is in Julian. And we're seeing some of the inventory that fell off of the shelves. Hopefully, the damage is just contained to this. I know at this point, a lot of people still have to take a closer look at their buildings, make sure all of their water and their gas lines are all intact. But again, this was near Julian and our mountain areas. This is near where the epicenter was, a few miles outside of that. So hopefully, Dylan, hopefully your business is okay beyond that. We are getting some other video here. I believe we have video from El Cajon that Jerry sent us. Actually, this is Escondido. All right, this is Escondido here, and you can just hear the earthquake, and I think that's what caught a lot of people, because this one was pretty loud. I mean, I've experienced numerous earthquakes here throughout my lifetime in San Diego County, and this was one of the larger ones that I do remember in recent years. Again, this is up in the North County. We also got some video in El Cajon. This is in the East County, and this just shows some of the shaking that we all felt. And just how loud it was. So hopefully, Jerry, thank you for sending us this video. Hopefully everything is fine at your home. If you do have any video or if you have any comments, feel free to send them to me as I continue to bring you coverage here throughout 10 News Midday. Marie Cornell also tracking a lot here online. Let's go ahead and check back in with her. Marie.
All right, Mel, so again, at this point, there is only one reported outage on the SDG&E outage map, but as we are monitoring social media, a lot of the different agencies say at this point they are assessing for any damage. Again, as we mentioned, governor's office saying they are coordinating with the local authorities to see if there are any damages or if there are any injuries. We have reached out to the different school districts. I had reached out to the Sweetwater Unified School District as they are back in session. Remember, a lot of schools went back to school. We have schools in the Diocese of San Diego. They are on spring break. So a lot of calls are being made at this point as we are trying to make sure everyone is okay and to see if there are any reports of any damages. But again, to reiterate from the local law enforcement agencies, only call 911 if it is an emergency. If it is not an emergency, please call their non-emergency lines. Mel.
All right, Marie, thank you so much. We'll check back in with you in a little bit. We do have Olivia Gonzalez-Britt. She is monitoring our traffic on this midday. Olivia.
Good morning, Mel. Yes, we are tracking just north of Julian. We have two hazards. One is on the California 76 southbound between Public Road and CRS 7 Grande Road. There is a roadblock due to debris. We don't know if this is because of that earthquake, but we are trying to get more information on that hazard. Then over by Valley Center on another road, another lane is blocked due to a landslide. on the Valley Center Road northbound at Woods Valley Road. So these are two hazards that have been reported by the CHP. We are trying to get more information of that. This is like not too far from the epicenter of the 5.2 earthquake that we felt earlier about an hour ago. We're trying to get more information on that. I'm also tracking what the surf, what the waves look like. People are concerned about tsunami threats. We are a coastal region. I had friends living in PB that were texting me, should I be driving inland? And we've spoken with people over the phone that, you know, they say that there is not a threat right now. And that is what I'm tracking as well with the surf outlook right now. But Mel, we'll get back to you, try to get more information on those two hazards on the road.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we do have UC San Diego professor Alessandro Palermo on the phone joining us right now. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hey, thank you
Good
so
morning.
much. Thank you so much for joining us on 10 News Midday. You know, let's talk a little bit about bridge safety when it comes to events like this. What are some of the things that need to be monitored?
You know, these events, you know, we had a 5.2. These are, I would say they are moderate earthquakes. So we're talking about a modified Mercalli intensity level 6, which means there is not expected severe damage. But in important structures like bridges, obviously there is always need to check, you know, especially the bridge piers, the columns, let's say the substructure that sustain, you know, the roads, the deck, because these are the key elements which are transferring, taking the energy of the earthquake.
And can you tell me, especially here in Southern California, how are these types of structures, and we're taking a live look here at the Coronado Bridge, but when it comes to bridges in general here in Southern California, how are they meant to withstand or survive these types of earthquakes, this type of activity?
Yeah, the bridges are designed according, you know, to the Caltrans design manual, and they are pretty well designed with a very conservative approach. The damage on the bridges will depend on the importance of the road. So the bridges on the State Highway 5, even in a far larger event, they will probably suffer minor damage. But there are other bridges which are less important, will suffer more damage, and therefore there could be disruption in the road. But generally, all the bridges are designed to maintain, obviously, with the priority life safety. And in a scenario like this, in this earthquake is more like a serviceability limit stage, means that you expect that this is you have operational level earthquake. So it's very low intensity. So the structure shouldn't have any damage. So if there is damage in some structures, means that probably the structures have some vulnerabilities.
All right. And you know, I mean, obviously this happened on a Monday. Can you tell me some of the things that maybe they'll be doing long term just to make sure that we are prepared for the next time something like this happens? Because we know, living here in Southern California, this is definitely, and it's not our first earthquake, definitely not going to be the last one.
Yeah, I think, you know, I always think like as a citizen, you know, I just moved to San Diego 2 years ago, but I lived in New Zealand. I went through 4 earthquakes, and I learned that you need to be prepared, like have water, you know, all have the essentials because, you know, we are a very active area, right, and active zone, so you need to be prepared. And you also have to be extremely careful. Think about that whenever there will be an earthquake, strong severity, you may have disruption. Some roads will be closed, so you have to think about, you know, having all the essentials with you, because there may be challenges, and you know we are very well prepared, I would say, you know, especially if you think about the bridges are designed extremely well by Caltrans, but we don't know what nature is bringing to us. So we always have to be very conservative and make sure that we have all the basic needs for us in case that we have disruption and we can't reach back our home.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for joining us here on 10 News Midday. We appreciate your time. Right now, we do want to go to ABC 10 News reporter Perla Shaheen, who is joining us live there. I believe, Perla, you are near downtown.
Hi, Melissa. Yeah, we're at B and Union downtown, where we just heard hundreds of construction workers had to stall their work on this luxury apartment complex behind me. I'll take a step aside so you can see some of them walking off. We are told by HMT Electric, it's one of the construction companies here, that hundreds of workers had to stall their construction when that earthquake hit. They are now taking a second to get a head count of everyone in the building. They told me this is a normal protocol when a natural disaster happens, to make sure that everyone is okay. This is a 36-story high-rise coming into downtown. It's a luxury apartment complex. A representative tells me that hundreds of people were in there working on it at the same time, but of course, they need to be careful in these types of situations. You know, there's a lot of loose debris, lumber, different materials that they're using to put together this building. So they want to make sure everyone's okay in the midst of this process. So far, they told me that it sounds like people are doing okay. They haven't been able to check on everyone just yet. They're still trying to get all of these men out of the building. But so far for now at Union and B, it seems like everything is under control, but still waiting to get an official update from one of the representatives here at HMT Electric.
Out there in downtown, what's the mood like? Has anyone come up to talk to you? Because it was quite a jolt.
Talking to them, I asked, is this protocol? And obviously, we have some earthquakes in California, but the representative told me it was pretty shocking to experience such an extreme jolt in downtown San Diego. They are obviously working on a pretty high-rise building down here. It's a luxury apartment complex, so the potential for some serious damages was pretty high, but thankfully they're all telling me that things are okay, and it sounds like they're doing all right. They just followed protocol as was, and there are about like 20 companies here working on this building, so they have a lot of people to check in on right now.
All right, Perla, hopefully everyone out there is safe. I can't imagine being that high up in a building when an earthquake like this strikes. All right, it's 11:13 right now. Maybe Perla will go ahead and check back in with you a little bit later. All right, we do have some new video here from El Cajon. Thank you to Leticia for sending me this video. And this just kind of shows basically how strong this particular earthquake was, and so much so that it was able to knock the camera off to its side. Leticia, hopefully you didn't have any damage there to your home. You are in the East County. Again, thank you for sending me this video here from El Cajon. Hopefully everyone there is okay, and hopefully your property is okay as well. We do have Dr. Pat Abbott, who is going to be joining us here by phone at 11:14 on this midday, on this Monday. Dr. Abbott, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right, Dr. Abbott, you know it all. You are the go-to guy for people trying to put this in perspective. Can you give us a little bit more about this quake, this 5.2?
Well, this is an earthquake on a fault that has a long history of doing big earthquakes and even larger ones than this. So in the same sense that we say we cannot predict earthquakes, we had no idea whatsoever this was going to happen today. On the other hand, once it has happened, we say, well, this is a totally expected event. It's not even as large of an earthquake as one might expect on this fault. This is a fault that could easily do a magnitude 7. And if we look back 15 years to the Easter earthquake at that time, that was not on this named fault, but it was on this exact same trend. It was a 7.2 magnitude. So what we have here is, I think, what I'd call if I may, a typical day in San Diego, where you get up in the morning thinking, will there be an earthquake today? And there was. Didn't know it was coming today, but hopefully everybody's mind knows that when the earth begins shaking, what's the first thing you think about? What can fall on me? What can be thrown at me and hurt me? How do I protect myself? And of course, what we commonly sell or try to push is the drop, cover, and hold on. So get underneath that desk, get underneath that heavy table, get under some place where if things do fall, they won't hurt you. And so here was one of those kinds of events, an event of, in a way, this is. I don't really mind an earthquake like this as long as nobody really got hurt and there was no big damages, because it's a good reminder of bigger things that will be coming at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that Easter earthquake. I cannot believe that was 15 years ago, because I remember that one. That one felt a little bit more like a rolling earthquake. Ooh, 15 years ago. So quite a difference. And what have we learned from then to now?
Well, what we have learned is basically not just from our earthquakes, but other earthquakes that occur around the world. When New Zealand was hit hard by earthquakes, when Japan was hit here in 2011, when any place where buildings fail or serious damage occurs, people from around the world go there to look and see why did this fail? Where was the weak point here? Why did this building? Why did that bridge come down? And then you try to improve the building codes to say, okay, we'll connect this horizontal element, this floor of this building to the vertical wall. We'll do a better job of tying it together so it can't come apart. It's that kind of a thing. Try to see where mistakes occurred, or not mistakes, but damage, death. Where did the bad things happen during an earthquake? Look at it, try to understand what happened, and then change the building code so we fix it, so it won't happen again, where people getting hurt from that same kind of structure.
And I do have to ask you, because of course this earthquake brings reminders of earthquakes past, including the one in the 90s, the Northridge earthquake, which I remember vividly. I remember that time the freeway, it buckled. Has anything been done in particular to freeways to improve their stability?
Oh, most definitely. And it's interesting you bring up that 1994 Northridge earthquake. That was a real stunner. I felt that too. I mean, I was 4:31 a.m. I sat bolt upright in bed. I thought a truck had run into the house. It was a huge shake. And as you mentioned, we had freeway bridges collapse. And so that's 1994. So go back in your memory here. You can even look at things like, say, where the I-8 bridge goes over I-5 here. Then we had for quite some time, they're installing a lot of steel cables. And the basics are to tie the horizontal roadbed to the vertical supporting upright to make them more one unit, so that the vertical doesn't shape differently from the horizontal, and they shake together as one unit, and thus hold down the damages that occur. So a whole lot of stuff has gone on. Folks may remember, too, just driving up Interstate 8, the 805 bridge. That was out for quite some time, where they dug much deeper pits around the vertical supports, filled those with concrete, added a lot of steel cables to tie things together. So in other words, a lot of retrofitting has been done. And theoretically, that's great as taking care of the problem. But of course, from every time there is an earthquake, then we learn if something wasn't learned, or we need to do something else. But basically, we learn from our mistakes. We go see what went wrong, and then try to make sure that exact same situation does not happen again.
Yeah, always a good reminder. Dr. Pat Abbott, please stay with us here by phone. We do want to check back in with you. Right now, we do want to go to break with much more of the 5.2 earthquake that happened earlier this morning. Stay with us.
side from the ocean of the Santa Ana Mountains and the last Ana Mountains. And the last big earthquake along that fault was a long time ago. It was 1910, where there was a magnitude 6.0. This is the biggest quake along that fault in 115 years. Magnitude 5 or stronger earthquakes happen in California about 2 or 3 times per year. This is about 100 years of data that we can look at. We get 2 or 3 per year. This will be one of them. A magnitude 6.5 or stronger, which thankfully we are not looking at here. That only happens in California, the whole state, about once every 4 years. Final graphic I want to share with you. This is the strongest quake anywhere in California since we had a similar magnitude 5.2 quake along the Grapevine in southern Kern County on August 9th of last year. We've already seen 8 strong aftershocks. A strong aftershock will be magnitude 2.5 or higher. We've had 8 of those in the past hour. And as with most earthquakes, there is the chance that this one is actually the smaller one and the bigger one is coming. That number has already been reduced from 5% down to 1%. It usually would happen if it happens right after the earthquake. That has not happened, so now there's a very, very, very small chance that this is a foreshock. I'll finish things with this map right here. Inland San Diego County, magnitude 5.2 earthquake. And Mark has been talking about this, that Did You Feel It part of the USGS website. 37,000 people, guys, have filled out that form and submitted it. It was felt all throughout Southern California, more than 100 miles from where that earthquake happened. Guys, back to you.
And we want to just recap that just after 10 a.m. there was a 5.2 quake in San Diego County, centered near Julian, which is a small town in East County, San Diego. But this quake being felt up and down Southern California, down to Mexico, up even to Ventura County. You're looking here at some video that is from a liquor store in Julian, where you can see some bottles came off the shelves. We spoke with a woman who was working in the Chamber of Commerce building, a historic building. She said it felt like the building was going to crumble around her. Lots of people talking about how this was not a quick earthquake, that it lasted several seconds, and it wasn't that rolling motion that we sometimes feel or a quick jolt, but more of a constant shaking. And we are going to say goodbye to our viewers on CBS2, but we're going to continue coverage over on KCAL 9. Again, a quake along the Elsinore Fault, which is part of the San Andreas system. Dr. Lucy Jones saying we're feeling robust aftershocks, so a sizable quake. And now we're back on KCAL News talking about this earthquake. I'm joined now by Amy Johnson, both of us San Diego natives.
Yes.
And in between giving you the news right now, we're hearing from many of our friends and family who felt that earthquake. Both of our dads saying it was very severe and some of the worst. Your dad saying the worst quake he's felt since moving to the San Diego area in the early 70s.
Exactly, and he's in an area called Poway, which is very close to that area east of Poway. He actually lives between Poway and Ramona, and initially we were hearing that this was over a 6-point earthquake in the San Diego States in the Ramona area. It was then upgraded to a 5.2. I should say the information was upgraded, and it was actually a lower 5.2 that actually happened in the Julian area. We've been hearing from so many people saying that they have felt this one so much stronger, so much longer, and that could be because it was only 13 kilometers below the surface there. And we also know that there was a 3.5 yesterday, that foreshock perhaps. We often hear that there was a 5% chance of the actual earthquake being a foreshock, but that could have been the foreshock yesterday. Now we're hearing that there was in fact another aftershock, maybe as big as a 3.9, that happened at 11:23 this morning. Mark's shaking his head to me right now.
All this data coming into the U.S. Geological Survey website, including that aftershock of 3.9 just happened about 6 minutes ago. If you come out to well, first thing I want to do is show you the primary earthquake. Our seismocam caught it. We have some video to show you of when our seismocam caught that earthquake. If we can show it to you right now, you're going to see all of the sensors. Surprise, it was a 5.2 San Diego. This is about 40 miles in a straight line to the northeast of the city of San Diego. Struck at about 10:08. But there's been a swarm of aftershocks in the area since that quake hit. Let me take you out to my screen and show you what I'm talking about. This is data straight from the U.S. Geological Survey website. And if you can come out to my computer now, yeah, that's it. We're going to zoom in here and show you. Here's the city of San Diego down in this area. I'm going to zoom in. The blue dot I've highlighted, that's the primary quake this morning at 5.2. And you can see all of those other dots around it here. These are all essentially aftershocks. And then this new one here just hit a 3.9 a short time ago. I'm going to send it back to you guys, though, to talk a little bit more about this earthquake.
Yeah, we're actually, Mark, going to get out to Ashley Pinnock. She is in Ramona, which is also East County, San Diego, and not far from the epicenter. Ashley, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know that it's probably been a bit of a morning for you. Can you describe what the quake felt like?
Yeah, I was sitting there and I was watching my son. He was just sitting there playing real quiet, and it felt like my entire roof was going to collapse. We have a large beam that runs through the center of our house, and I started to hear something cracking, and that's why I started screaming at everybody to get out. Because I was terrified. Eventually we figured out that it was just the wall that was cracking and not the beam. Thank God. But that's what I thought was going to fall on my head, so I was like, I have to get out of the house.
And we are, I think, are just looking at some video that you sent in from your home security system showing you with your baby saying you got to get out, get out, get out. And, you know, I'm a mom, and I think that whenever something like this happens, our first thought is, you know, protect our children. Can you kind of describe what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I didn't want anything to fall on him. I didn't want, you know, the windows to shatter or something crazy. And all I could think was, I don't want to get out of here. And if this does fall on our heads, we're done. And that's a scary feeling.
Thank you for joining us. This is Kalina Estrinos hopping in here. I'm so impressed by this video. You worked so quickly to grab your kiddo and get out of there as safely and quickly as possible. It didn't even look like it started shaking before you immediately had your motherly instincts jump in and get out of there. How are you feeling right now? How's your family feeling right now?
We're all still pretty shook up. I'm still shaky. The adrenaline that runs through your body during these kind of things when, you know, you don't know what's going to happen, it just makes you so nervous, and I still can't kick that feeling. You know, it's like every 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, is it going to happen again? Is it going to happen again?
Yeah, and I just got a message from a friend of mine who lives in Escondido, and she just said, hey, I just felt another one, and I ran outside. Are you inside your home right now, or are you outside?
Yes, we're all inside right now. We did feel that one. I was sitting here waiting on the phone, and we felt it, and my fiance came in, and he has the baby right now. He's being very kind. And so we're all kind of just waiting on edge to see if it's going to happen again, and I think that's really what's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and you mentioned, did the quake crack your ceiling? Have you looked at the damage?
It did, yes. We actually have right above our fireplace, it cracked the drywall going up to the ceiling.
And I'm assuming you lived there for a while. Have you ever had any other quakes do that kind of thing, or has this been the worst that you felt?
This has been the worst that I've felt since I've been here. We've been here for about 6 years.
Oh, okay. And are you a native Californian?
Yes, my whole life.
Okay, so you're used to, I mean, we're kind of used to this, but whenever you have a quake like this come around, in fact, Paul Diano, our meteorologist, pointed out that this area, this epicenter, has not had a quake above 5.0 since 1910. So especially the people who have lived where you live in Ramona, East County, you know, Julian, those areas for a long time, this definitely, you know, got them going because they haven't had something this severe. Did you feel the one yesterday?
We did, yes, and I didn't think that it was going to be any form of a precursor to what we felt today, and it did definitely make us realize that, you know, since we don't have these large quakes like this very often, that we didn't even really have a plan. You know, it was grab the baby and run outside, and that was it.
Yeah. You know, your baby, I know this is probably a really silly question, but when you took your baby out of the crib, how was your baby doing? Did you know, he or she have any reaction? Were you just, you know, holding your baby to make sure they were calm and okay? Or can, you know, we usually count on children to just think of everything as an adventure. So Did anything even register?
He is so funny. He actually, when we got outside, his head was on my chest because it probably spooked him a little bit, that I picked him up and just started running like a crazy lady. And by the time we got outside, he was all smiles. He just kept showing all his new little teeth and super happy. And so he had no idea what was going on. He was just like, okay, fun ride, I guess.
Well, and
Fun little trip outside.
what strikes me about the video, I don't know if you were watching TV, if you're just kind of staring off into space, but you look like kind of so content just sitting there on the couch, like, oh, it's just another Monday at 10 a.m. And you just, right there, you're just up on your feet, you grab that baby, and you go running. And it just goes to show how quickly our lives can change. Thankfully, you're okay, your baby's okay, your home, aside from the crack in it, is okay. Did you get a warning on your cell phone? Are you signed up for those alerts?
I don't think that I did. I know that I think my fiance did. But yeah, it was so fast. I think we heard it a little bit before it got here.
Quick question about the video. I think I saw a cat running across the screen, going to a different room. How's your cat?
Oh my goodness, she's fine, and that's what I had been watching. Like two minutes before, she was in there playing with the baby, and they're cute. They're little besties, and she had just gotten out because he was getting a little abusive, and she was like, "I'm tired of playing with you." And so she was sitting on the couch, and it scared her.
Yeah, but no warning. Sometimes they say animals can sense that a quake's coming, but you didn't notice any different behavior in her.
No, not at all. She was maybe. She was with the baby for probably a good 45 minutes playing with them. He was playing with his ball. They were both sitting in there playing with all his toys. And normally she doesn't want to stick around him too often. Because he pulls tails and the whole thing.
Yeah, he's a kid. It's okay. I feel like looking back at this video over and over again, you and the cat had the same instincts to just run the second the camera started shaking, and you guys just bolted out of there.
Got out of there. Well, the good news is we're hearing now from the mayor of San Diego, and the mayor, Todd, Gloria, saying there is no known visible or major damage to the city so far, and I'm in communication with local, state, and federal officials. And of course, the same thing was echoed here in LA, that we had no damage. The fire department kind of gave us the all clear there. But you, of course, have the crack there, so there might be some superficial damage inside homes. We saw a liquor store with bottles on the ground that had fallen off the top shelf. But all in all, I mean, I hate to say that, we got lucky this time, because that implies, there will be a time that we aren't lucky. But, that's what Dr. Lucy Jones and seismologists always tell us, that the big one, it's not a matter of, if, it's a matter of when. And let me ask you, because watching you on that video really jump up, are you going to do anything differently in terms of your plan to be prepared for another earthquake?
I think it's really, for me, is looking around the property and finding where would be the safest place to go, because we don't have as many places to shelter in. And as I was saying before, we have a huge beam that runs through the center of our house that makes me nervous. If that were to fall down, that's a life or death situation. So it's really just finding outside where's the safest place to go, not around trees, making sure that all the kids are out of the house. How fast can you do that? And that's when something like that is happening, especially if my other children were in school, they wouldn't have been in school. I don't know how fast I would have been able to grab all of them at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
Very good point. Well,
Ashley and Kenneth, we're so thankful that you were able to hop on a call with us and talk with us. We're glad you're okay. Great instincts, and we really appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. We want to get to CAL FIRE Captain Mike Cornett joining us right now. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been covering this earthquake throughout the morning. The second after we heard it hit around 10:08 this morning. We do know that fire department tends to go in earthquake mode when it comes to when an earthquake hits. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys have gone through so far? Anything that you might be hearing for our area or elsewhere from your colleagues?
Yeah, we're in constant communication to our dispatch center with all the other dispatch center region-wide. We do have implemented our earthquake plan, so all of our fire engines and apparatus are out in the building. homeowners are on a heightened sense of awareness right now.
But so far, have you heard of any damage at all? Are you hearing of any of that? Or you guys are still looking into everything?
No, I'm up in the Julian area right now. I happened to be up in the area when the earthquake struck. So we have had our crews go out and check all the different areas, and so far we haven't found anything, thankfully.
Wow. So what was it like for you since you were there? You were in the location where it hit in Julian. Can you walk us through what it felt like for you?
Yeah, I've been in San Diego County all my life, so I've lived through quite a few earthquakes, and could say that this is probably one of the strongest earthquakes I've felt in a very long time. I was in a building in a school. We were doing a presentation in there. We all needed to get down, kind of duck underneath the tables, and once that hazard passed, we exited and made sure that everybody was accounted for and safe, and then they could move forward with making sure that the buildings and everything else was good to go.
Now let me ask you, I always know that this is a good time when people are listening and they're rattled to talk to them about earthquake preparedness. And I know that so many of us are woefully unprepared, even though we know the risk is there. Can you take this time to let our viewers know what they should have on hand to be ready for when that big one strikes?
Yeah, I would say it's like any type of natural disaster. We want to make sure that we have 72 hours of supplies ready. So we want to have that go bag ready, that we can take it with us if we need to evacuate. A big thing for earthquakes, especially in the middle of the night or if you're in your bed, is to keep some slippers or sandals next to your bed, because you never know if that earthquake's going to break the glass in your window, and then you have to walk through that glass. So you want to make sure that you have something to cover your feet. You also want to make sure that you have flashlights and gloves, and anything that you would need to keep you safe through that event in up to 72 hours.
You mentioned that you were at a school giving a presentation. You had kids in the classroom too, right?
Luckily, the kids weren't there. We were talking to the staff about some different safety topics, and this just happened to happen. But the staff acted very quickly, and it was great to see that some of our educators, even though they're not emergency responders, were able to identify that hazard, take command of the situation, and make sure that we had accountability of everybody.
And, I think it's important to point out, too, because a lot of people may not realize this. If there were a really big quake with lots of damage, lots of injuries and deaths, you guys would not be able, it's not like someone can just pick up the phone and call 911 and say, hey, I cut my foot on glass, I need some help. Yeah. People are going to have to essentially be self-sufficient for a little while.
Yeah, and it's going to take some time for the first responders and the firefighters to make sure that they're safe too, to be able to do their job, and then not only do their job, but then get to your residence or wherever you're at. So there might be hazards in the road. There might be other 911 calls that happen at the same time. So preparedness and having those evacuation supplies, those first aid supplies, and being ready to be self-sufficient potentially for a couple hours after.
How long do you guys stay on scene after an earthquake of this magnitude happens?
Well, we keep our fire trucks out until we get an all clear from our dispatch. We go out to our communities and do what we call a windshield survey. So we're making sure that we're looking at all the businesses and the buildings, going through the residential areas, seeing if there's any damage to the structures, seeing if there's any hazards like trees in the road or power wires down or anything like that. I know the engine up here in Julian, I saw them over at the school, so they were making sure that the kids were safe, and then they went through the town to make sure that our residents were safe as well.
And can you speak to the fact, because I think so many of us, we hear, 5.2, which is a considerable quake, but, we don't see a lot of damage. Do you think that really speaks to, how our buildings are built?
Yeah, and I know that the building codes have adapted to new earthquake regulations, and as time and technology progress, we continue to progress our building codes, and so I do believe that's one of the factors that we haven't seen any damage. I know Julian is a very old mining town here,
before versus now, where we do have so many different things that have been put into place when it comes to our buildings and how they can, react and absorb the actual earthquake. So,
Yeah.
We've come a long way, and we appreciate you joining us. I know that when this sort of thing happens, the fire department, CAL FIRE, all the different agencies are so busy. So we appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us, and we're glad that it sounds like everything is okay. We did speak with a woman who said that it caused a crack in her ceiling, so we might see kind of, superficial damage like that, but it sounds like no reports of major damage, major injuries, and for that we are very grateful.
We are too here at CAL FIRE and San Diego County Fire, and we're going to continue to serve the community and make sure that we mitigate any hazards and protect the lives.
All right, well, CAL FIRE Captain Mike Cornett, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
all right, let's get over to Paul Diano now for a look at what you've been tracking for this earthquake. You kind of walked us through some of the aftershocks you've been feeling and what people need to know about this particular earthquake.
Yeah, well, let's kind of set the stage geographically first, then we'll get to some of the information, including talking about the Elsinore fault, which is a fault we don't talk about much. We are today. This is a list of the earthquakes that have happened over the past week, magnitude 2 or larger. You can clearly see a concentration in and around eastern and inland San Diego County. We'll get a little bit closer. The red dots, earthquakes that have happened over the past 1 hour. So from 10:46 to right now, there are 2 aftershocks that have happened over the past hour. A lot of yellow dots and a few big yellow dots. The bigger the dot, the bigger the earthquake. We had that magnitude 5.2 quake at 10:08. Guys, it sounds like I'm going back to you.
Okay, Paul.
Thank you. I do believe we might have Linda Rangel on the phone right now. Linda, can you hear us?
Yes.
Hi, it's Kalina and Christine. I know Amy had mentioned earlier that she reached out to a friend of hers. This is my friend Linda.
Oh, this is your friend Linda.
This is my friend Linda. She went to San Diego State. She lives in Escondido right now. And I messaged you after I heard of the earthquake because I know you're not too far away from Julian, Ramona. You're familiar with the area. So can you just walk us through what you felt when it started shaking?
Yeah, so I live in the unincorporated rural area of Escondido. So we have a ranch house and then a second ADU structure that has a loft where I have an office that I work in. So I was just working, and I think people said that an alert went out, but I don't think there was enough time for me to actually get an alert. I was just working, and all of a sudden everything kind of started shaking, and because it's a pretty sizable structure, it was making a lot of noises and creaking, and my instinct was to just leave the building. I don't know if that was the right thing to do, but I didn't have any shoes on. I left my phone behind. I just got up and ran out, and since we live in kind of a country area, we have a pretty sizable clearing that I kind of ran out to because I wasn't sure how long it was going to last. But it has been a long time since I've felt an earthquake, so it definitely spooked me enough to get out.
And we were talking earlier about being California native. She's from California as well. So I know, Linda, you're used to it. I know you have kids too. Were they with you? Were they in school? What can you tell us about what the school decided to do if they were in school? I know your husband's a teacher too.
Yes.
Can you give us any insight on that?
So my husband's on staff at Mission Hills High School in San Marcos, and my kids are at a local daycare and at a local elementary school. So immediately once I felt safe enough to go back in and get my phone, I called my husband, and he was still under his desk. They were still being advised to stay under their desks. And then while I was speaking with him, the PA system, they were alerted to evacuate. So I know they evacuated for a little while. I called my children's school, and the kids were spooked, but thankfully at the daycare, they checked the structure, and everything seemed okay. So the kids went back in, and then I think with the elementary school as well, they let us know that they checked and everything was okay, and that they were going to go ahead and let the kids resume classes. But I imagine for my kids, they've never experienced that, so I'm sure they were scared.
Yeah, and I mean, I think kids these days, like me growing up in San Diego, we had 2 kind of drills, right? We had like a fire drill, we had an earthquake drill. Now the kids also have like, school shooting drills and all these other different drills and, evacuation drills. And I think sometimes we forget that we do live in earthquake country. We become kind like immune to it. And now we're looking at some security video of different people's homes. And you can really see, you know, my mom and dad live in Del Mar still. And my dad was home and he said that it's one of the worst he's felt. And they've lived in San Diego since the early 60s, mid 60s. And when you look at this footage, we can see what he was describing to me was it was more of a shaking. A lot of times we feel like a rolling motion or a quick jolt. I imagine the reason why you went all the way outside is because it was a shaking that just wasn't really ending.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a sister-in-law and brother-in-law that live in a condo in downtown San Diego, and they're on the 5th floor, and for them it was more of a rolling. Their whole building was kind of slowly rolling, but I know they felt it all the way down there. So yeah,
they felt it all the way up.
I've been in San Diego for a while, and I haven't had experienced an earthquake like this level in a long time. And then I felt a little bit of an aftershock quite a bit after I decided to go back into my main house to get some coffee, and felt the aftershock, and the roof kind of started making a weird creaking sound. So again, I ran outside again because it scared me again. I was like, I'm not taking my chances.
It's probably a good thing. I know you mentioned the creaking sound, and you live kind of in, you know, in a ranch area. There's a lot of land right around you. Did you kind of walk around the house to see if there was any damage, or just kind of spooked about what happened?
Yeah, no, I walked around to make sure I didn't see any cracks and that everything was okay. And we live near kind of a hillside that has a lot of boulders, and it's a easement area to preserve the naturalness of the area. So I just kind of looked around to make sure I didn't see any sort of boulders dislodge or anything that could be problematic, because if they roll down, our house is sort of on the bottom. So yeah, I just surveyed our pool, make sure I didn't see any cracks in the pool. But yeah, those were some of my main concerns.
Well, we're so glad you're okay, and thank you so much for joining us and letting us talk to you about everything. Glad your kiddos are okay, your husband's okay, and, you know, stay safe.
Thank you. Thanks so much, ladies. Take care.
Well, we continue with the breaking news right now. A 5.2 earthquake near Julian in San Diego County rocked parts of Southern California this morning.
With shaking also being felt in the Inland Empire, Los Angeles County, Orange County, and there have been at least 7 aftershocks.
I want you to take a look at this video here showing the shaking inside of a home. This video was posted on social media. We've been seeing different videos being posted showing the shaking, showing some items that have, you know, dropped, and people's reactions like this one.
This poor
when
mom.
that shaking, I know, but she did a great job though,
She did.
making sure her kid was okay.
Yeah, she just went right for that baby, and then you see the cat go after her, and then her husband follows suit. We want to get out to Assignment Desk Manager Mark Liu. He has more, including what Dr. Lucy Jones had to say this morning about the quake. Mark?
Yeah, so Christine, Helena, lots of data coming in from the U.S. Geological Survey about this quake. The primary one, 5.2, happened about 10:08 this morning. There's been a swarm of aftershocks, including a 3.9 that happened just about 30 minutes ago. Let me give you an overview of where this is all happening. Come out to my screen. I'm going to show you data straight from the U.S. Geological Survey website. Okay, so the city of San Diego, down here, this is our major landmark, and about 40 miles to the northeast, this is the earthquake swarm that we're talking about here. The primary earthquake was the one that I highlighted in blue here. That's right in the community of Julian, a 5.2 at about 10:08. All of these orange ones around that you see to the north, that's an aftershock swarm that has been about the last 2 hours, most of them in the high twos. And then this one right here was a 3.9 just about 30 minutes ago, about 23 minutes past the hour. This one down here to the south of the primary quake, that was yesterday, 3.3, so very likely a foreshock. Now looking at this bit of data here, this is very interesting. It shows just how far and wide the earthquake was felt. All of these little boxes, they look like grains of sand across Southern California, are all instances of people reporting feeling this earthquake. Now the blue boxes all through Southern California here, this is all considered light to very light shaking. Now as we go down into the San Diego area, we're going to see something we haven't seen in a while. We've seen some yellow and greens here, which is moderate to strong shaking, and then right at the epicenter, there's actually some orange boxes which report people feeling very strong or severe shaking. Now, whenever there's an earthquake, I go to this page, and also Paul Diano over in the Weather Center, we immediately start putting our heads together because he has great access to data over on his computers in the Weather Center, and he noticed something before I did, that there are actually some reports of people feeling it in Phoenix. There are a couple of reports here, 4 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there, the people said that they felt it in the Phoenix area, and then if we zoom out even further and go up into Las Vegas, Nevada has 4 reports as well of people who said they felt this quake. And then over to the west, we see as far west as Santa Barbara and Lompoc. There's a very light shaking report right there in Lompoc, which is quite distant from the epicenter. Now, this swarm of aftershocks and the primary quake was discussed on a Zoom meeting with seismologist Lucy Jones. Take a listen to what she had to say about this one.
Every earthquake could be a foreshock to something bigger. We haven't found any characteristic that says this is or will or won't be a foreshock. Essentially, a foreshock is a main shock that happened to have a really big aftershock. There was a foreshock to this earthquake. There was a 3.5 yesterday afternoon. The chance that this 5.2 would itself be a foreshock to something bigger is still the same. It's about 5% chance. So it means, 19 out of 20 times what you're seeing is the biggest one. 1 out of 20 times it's followed by something bigger.
Now, Governor Gavin Newsom says he has been briefed on this incident. The California Governor's Office of Emergency Services is working with local agencies to assist with any possible damage, but we don't know of any damage beyond things being knocked off the shelves. We saw that video in Julian of the liquor store with the bottles knocked over, and of course that woman who rushed out of her living room during that quake. We don't know of any reports of any injuries. That's really the best news to hear about this, but I will say that one thing that is important for people transiting through Orange County into San Diego on the Metrolink lines, Orange County line train 608 from San Clemente to Oceanside is currently suspended because they want to check those tracks. If you remember, Kalina and Christine, those are the tracks that run right by the beach, and previously in 2022, there was some landslides and rock slides there that closed the tracks. So they're going to walk those tracks to make sure that there is not any sand or rocks that could impede a Metrolink train going through there. But thankfully, no reports of any severe damage either in Julian at the epicenter or really anywhere else out throughout Southern California.
And I remember working down there in San Diego, and that's one of the spots that if anything happened weather-wise, we were always sent to those train tracks because of the landslides, because of the rain, because of the damage that could happen. So it's no surprise that they have to go ahead and inspect that particular area.
And they have put some mesh up there now that's really kind of controlled the landslide that's coming down because, if you live, I'm from that area, I'm from the coast, and, those hillsides are not, they're eroding, they're moving a lot. Yeah. It's kind of like tough sand more than it is like an actual hill. But the video you're seeing there is a liquor store where some bottles came off the shelves, but we'll see a mom pick up her baby and run out of there. She did say there was a crack in her ceiling. So while we haven't had any major damage, any major injuries, we could see people having some impacts to their homes. In fact, years ago, the Northridge quake, of all quakes, actually cracked my parents' pool all the way down in San Diego. So you never quite know how it's going to impact the homes and the buildings there. But thankfully, it looks like everyone is okay.
Yeah. And we've been talking about Julian just as, a location itself. It's a small community. We've been staying a lot all morning. It has a population of about 1,700 people. It's a mountain town. People are known. I remember when I was working down there, I just go up there to, get the fresh air, look at the scenery, travel along Main Street, eat the apple pie like Christine and Amy were talking about earlier. So it's a very quiet town. This is probably the most action they've gotten in a very long time because not a lot happens in that area in particular. So again, we're going to keep you updated throughout the morning when it comes to this earthquake. We have Amy Johnson now getting situated to take over. But this, again, is rocking the San Diego County area. More than 38,000 people reporting that they felt this earthquake when it hit just after 10:08 this morning. It was downgraded to a 5.2 earthquake. So many people are so familiar with San Diego in general and just so familiar with this particular area too. So we'll continue our coverage right now with Amy Johnson.
This is KCAL News, Los Angeles.
Now at noon, we continue to follow breaking news. A 5.2 earthquake near San Diego this morning was shaking felt across Southern California. Hello and welcome to KCAL News at noon and streaming on CBS News Los Angeles. I'm Amy Johnson. We do want to begin with breaking news. That 5.2 earthquake near Julian in San Diego County rock parts of Southern California this morning just after 10 o'clock, about 10:08, with shaking being felt in the Inland Empire, Los Angeles County, and Orange County. There have been at least 7 aftershocks. Assignment Desk Manager Mark Liu has more, including what Dr. Lucy Jones had to say this morning. Mark?
Yeah, that's right, Amy. We've been covering this earthquake all morning here at the desk, gathering a ton of data from the U.S. Geological Survey website. This was a 5.2 magnitude earthquake, initially reported as a 6.0, but then downgraded after being reviewed by a seismologist. Happened about 10:08 this morning in the community of Julian. That's about 40 miles to the northeast of San Diego. No reports of any major damage yet or injuries, but thousands of people felt it, and we certainly saw it on our KCAL Seismocam. Let me show you that right now. This is video of that waveform. You can see there all 5 sensors: Anaheim, Long Beach, Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and San Diego felt this magnitude 5.2 quake just after 10 this morning. And it really registered all across Southern California. In just a second, I'm going to show you just how far and wide this quake was felt, even into other states and into Mexico as well. Now, if you come out to my screen, I'm going to give you a better idea of where this was located. This is the U.S. Geological Survey website. I'm going to zoom in on this cluster here, but first, let me first identify what we're looking at here. This is the city of San Diego, and it's 40 miles to the north here in the community of Julian right here. If we zoom in, this dot right here, that was the main quake, 5.2, as I said, just after 10. These orange dots all around here in this area, these are aftershocks, including one just about 45 minutes ago, a 3.9. That's the largest aftershock we have seen so far. Then there was this one. This was actually yesterday, a 3.3, possibly a foreshock. Now, really, just to give you an idea of just how far and wide this was felt, take a look at the Did You Feel It shake map. All of these tiny, tiny little squares, these are all examples of people who self-reported to the U.S. Geological Survey that they felt it all across Southern California. Blue indicates light shaking. Green, you start to get a little bit heavier as we go through Riverside County down here. And as I move into the San Diego area, yellow is strong shaking. So we can see just to the west of the epicenter and down here in San Diego, there's some reports of strong shaking. And then, of course, right here in the center of your screen, if I zoom in, you're going to see there are some people that reported very strong shaking, severe shaking right here in an area called Harrison Park. Now, Paul Diano over the Weather Center, whenever there's an earthquake, we put our heads together, start gathering data. He noticed that there were people in the Phoenix region who said they felt the earthquake here, and here. And then to the north as well, in the Las Vegas, Nevada area, we've got reports up there. At least 4 people wrote into the U.S. Geological Survey that they felt it in the Las Vegas area. And then all the way to the west, if I zoom out and go over here into Lompoc, there's actually one person right there in the Mission Hills area of Lompoc that felt it as well. So tens of thousands of people, certainly through Southern California, reported that they had felt this. Now, seismologist Lucy Jones talked about this earthquake and the foreshocks and the aftershocks on a Zoom meeting a short time ago. Let me play some of what she had to say.
Every earthquake could be a foreshock to something bigger. We haven't found any characteristic that says this is or will or won't be a foreshock. Essentially, a foreshock is a main shock that happened to have a really big aftershock. There was a foreshock to this earthquake. There was a 3.5 yesterday afternoon. The chance that this 5.2 would itself be a foreshock to something bigger is still the same. It's about 5% chance. So it means, 19 out of 20 times what you're seeing is the biggest one. 1 out of 20 times it's followed by something bigger.
Yeah, let's hope this is the 19 out of 20 times. This was the biggest one that we're going to have today. Now, this is video from a liquor store called Mountain Spirit Liquor in Julian. You can see this is an example. I'm sure it happened all over that community of things being knocked off shelves. In this case, it was bottles of liquor all over the floor. So there's going to be some cleanup here. But again, no injuries reported in Julian. We are hearing from other people that lived in the area as well. They have some cracks in their walls and ceilings. Certainly, this is a common thing for homes in Southern California. I doubt there's virtually a home anywhere in Southern California that doesn't have some kind of cracks or small cracks in their foundations from earthquakes like this. But LA County Fire, LA City Fire, and San Diego County Fire so far reporting no reports of any injuries, which is great. Amy, the governor, has been briefed on this earthquake. He has activated the governor's Office of Emergency Services to work with any local authorities that need any help. And one note that I want to say, Orange County train line 608, which is that train line that runs between San Clemente and Orange County, right along the beach. Right now, that train track is closed because that is right there on the shore, and at times there has been problems with either sand or rocks during earthquakes getting on those train tracks, so they've suspended service to walk those train tracks to make sure there's nothing on the tracks from this earthquake. I'll keep monitoring this and let you know if anything changes here, but thankfully this may just be an earthquake that we all felt. Didn't really experience any damage or injuries, which is good news here in Southern California. I'll send it back to you, Amy.
That is the best news, Mark. Thanks so much. You know, about 30 minutes ago, we spoke to Ashley Pinnock, a mom who lives in Ramona in the San Diego County estates, right near the epicenter, about the fear and her first reaction, which was also caught on her home security camera. Let's listen in.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I was watching my son. He was just sitting there playing real quiet, and it felt like my entire roof was going to collapse. We have a large beam that runs through the center of our house, and I started to hear something cracking, and that's why I started screaming at everybody to get out. Because I was terrified. Eventually, we figured out that it was just the wall that was cracking and not the beam. Thank God. But that's what I thought was going to fall on my head, so I was like, I have to get out of the house.
And we are, I think, are just looking at some video that you sent in from your home security system showing you with your baby saying, you got to get out, get out, get out. And, you know, I'm a mom, and I think that whenever something like this happens, our first thought is, you know, protect our children. Can you kind of describe what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I didn't want anything to fall on him. I didn't want, you know, the windows to shatter or something crazy. And all I could think was, I don't have to get out of here and this does fall on our heads. We're done. And that's a scary feeling.
All right, we're going to get some more on the science behind the quake with meteorologist Paul Deanna. Paul?
Yeah, this is an area that doesn't typically see bigger earthquakes like this. This happened along the Elsinore Fault, which runs through Lake Elsinore, hence the name. Runs from El Centro all the way north to Chino Hills into our viewing area. It actually runs and parallels the Santa Ana Mountains in eastern Orange County. The last big earthquake along this specific fault was a magnitude 6 115 years ago. So a magnitude 5.2 happened on that fault today. Now, how often does this happen? Let's look at the entire state of California. We get a magnitude 5 or stronger in California 2 or 3 times a year. It averages about 2.5 occurrences per year. We just had one of them this morning in San Diego County. Now, the big ones, the damaging ones, magnitude 6.5 or stronger, that only happens 1 time on average every 4 years. Thankfully, that did not happen this time. That said, this is the strongest earthquake in the state of California since August 9th of last year, which was also a 5.2 magnitude along the Grapevine in southern Kern County. We've already seen 8 aftershocks of 2.5 or higher, the ones that you would actually feel in that area. And as with most earthquakes, as Dr. Jones had stated, there's always the chance that it's a foreshock. The highest chance is right after the earthquake. It's about 5%. We are already down to, statistically speaking, a 1% chance of that happening, which is good news. Typically, if that were to happen, it would happen within minutes after the quake, and we're now coming up on about 2 hours, exactly 2 hours since this earthquake happened. Take a look at our forecast. Things are certainly changing. We'll have that, Amy, coming up in about 10 minutes. Back to you.
All right, Paul, thanks so much. Well, we are calling some breaking news out of Minnesota. A person has been arrested near United Healthcare's headquarters after reports of an intruder. The police say the suspect is in custody and there